Welcome back to another Film Geek video. Today I am going to do the impossible and rank the Critters film franchise from my favorite to least favorite film. And the reason I like to do it favorite to least favorite is we almost always have the same favorite one in a franchise. It's normally the best quality, and it's easily debatable which one's the best. But least favorite, that's the one that always gets me curious. That's the one I always wonder about. Everybody seems to have more opinions on their least favorite film in a franchise than their favorite one. So that's how or why I like to do it backwards, I guess, to everybody else. Everyone else goes least favorite to favorite. But yeah, I like to shake it up here at the Film Geek. Okay, so the Critters film franchise is another one of those little guy monster films, and I don't know why, but these are movies that I do enjoy around the holidays. And just last month, I did the Ghoulies franchise, and I had a viewer that made a comment and said, "Hey, you should have done the Critters franchise at the same time." And you know what? I did think of that. I was thinking, it's only 4 films in Ghoulies, maybe go ahead and throw the Critters in there too, but the thing was, I didn't have the time. I like to sit down and watch all of these movies before I do these videos just to get them fresh in my mind, so I can give a good opinion about each one of them, and I don't get things crisscrossed and look dopey on the internet and whatnot. So yeah, I like to sit down and watch all the movies. I didn't have time to watch 9 different movies, so I just decided to break it up into 2 different videos for you guys. So now I am going to rank the Critter films, and I did really enjoy, now mostly just the first 2 films. I'm not gonna lie, I hadn't seen 3, 4, and 5, The Critters Attack, which just came out in 2019. Those other 2, 3 and 4, I hadn't seen those movies since they were on video. I honestly hadn't watched them in a long time. I have the set right here. Like, I have all 4 of them right here on DVD, but I just don't really feel like watching those, and so actually had to sit down and watch those again for the first time in a long time. Let's head over to the series of tubes we like to call the internet and rank the Critters franchise. Here we are, the wondrous internet, and now I will do the impossible and rank the Critters franchise from favorite to least favorite. Okay, now, the Critters franchise is about these little guys from space who can eat anything. Now, the difference with them and some of the others is they're not really primal. They can, pilot spaceships and such. They're somewhat sentient beings, but they will devour anything and everything in their path. I shouldn't say somewhat sentient. They fly spaceships. I can't fly a spaceship. So yeah, they're smart. They're pretty smart little guys. They just eat everything. Everything. I mean everything. So anyways, here we go. So let's get this started, shall we? Now, my favorite of the Critters films is number 2. So we're going to put that right here in the number 1 slot. And then the second film, the main character, Scott Grimes, well, that's the actor who plays the main character, Scott Grimes. He comes back to the town where everything went down. They had moved. And I should add also that the Critters films take place in Kansas, at least most of them. I can't remember if Critters Attacks takes place in Kansas. But, and Critters 3 doesn't take place in Kansas. Most of these films take place in Kansas. So anyways, in the second film, the family has moved out of the town, the original town that everything happened in. They've moved away. They're living in Kansas City. They're living in Kansas City. And Scott Grimes' character comes back to his hometown just to check up how things are going on. And when you know it, there's some critter eggs, and the critters, they come out and they start eating everybody again. Now, the reason why I like this movie more than the first film is because it just goes bigger. It takes all of the fun from the first film and just keeps going with it. It expands on everything. You get more critters in this one, you get more jokes, you get more attacks, you get more violence, you get the town sheriff getting eaten alive inside of a Easter bunny costume at a church event on Easter Sunday. Yeah, there's not a lot of horror movies out there that deliver in that category. This film is just a fun all-around goofball movie. Now, I do know that you do need to see the first movie in order to enjoy this film the most, but this is my personal ranking video. This is how I just kind of decide what I'm going to go to and watch. So the first one that I'm going to watch, if I'm going to watch any Critters movie, is going to be Critters number 2. So it is my first one. That is going to be Critters Critters number 1 is number 2. 1, 2. 2, 1. 1, 2, 2, 1. Okay, I'll stop. Anyways, Critters 1 is my second favorite. I do really enjoy this movie, but I think that it doesn't go as big as the second film. You can definitely tell that they wanted to, but they just didn't have the extra budget to really push it. And man, it is a lot of fun. Regardless, I still love this movie to death, even if it's not my favorite of the Critters franchise. Generally, I will watch the second film, and then all I do is like, oh, you know what? I'm going to watch the first one now. I'm going to go backwards and watch the first movie. And yeah, I like the first one a little bit less than the second one, just because, like I said, it doesn't go as big. It doesn't have as many kills. It just stays in the one location. It just stays on the family farm. It doesn't really go into the town itself. Everybody comes to the farm and so on in this one, but it's still a very fun, enjoyable flick. That brings me to number 3. Number 3 in the series, for me at least in popular, the one I like the most, like, because right now I'm getting into the ones that I really just don't really care about, to be perfectly honest. I hadn't watched 3 and 4 in a really long time, so I watched this again, and I was just kind of like, yeah, now I remember why I haven't watched these in a long time. And I didn't even know about Critters Attack until I really sat down and looked everything up, and I found it, and I'm like, oh crap, I'll just go rent it. Well, come to find out, renting it cost about as much as like buying it, so I just bought the Blu-ray for Critters Attack. Alright, so number 3 in, not because I bought the Blu-ray, but because I did like it a bit more, is Critter Attack. Now, the weird thing about this movie is that I'm not 100% sure if this is a reboot or a sequel. Now, I did look up and find a little interview with Dee Wallace, because Dee Wallace does return to this film. She was in the first movie, and she comes back in this 5th film. Now, she says she's playing the same character, but they had to change the character's name for rights agreements and all this other good stuff, studios and what have you. So she goes by, I believe it's Aunt D or Aunt B, something like that, in this film, and she's a bounty hunter, which is odd because she played the mom in the first movie, and then in 5, she's playing the same character who just is a bounty hunter for the intergalactic whatever crime solvers, I guess. But all that aside, I do like this movie more than the other 2 on the list. And also there is like kind of a little other part, like there's The Critter Attack was just a very strange film, and I don't know if it was going to be enough to bring this franchise back or not, but it was a sci-fi original, I believe. I'm not 100% sure if it was released on Blu-ray first or if it was on Sci-Fi Channel first, but I mean, it tried really hard to be as fun as the first 2 films, and I give it credit for that, alright? So that brings me to number 4. Number 4, I am going to put in Critters number 3. Now, this was tough because Critters number 3 isn't that terrible. Okay, it is fun. It has its moments. I do like it. I like the fact that it brings it into an urban environment and so on. But, man, there just really wasn't a lot of the critters in this movie. I don't know, maybe they were trying to save on the budget. And one of the cool things I've always liked about the critters too is that traveling for the critters never looks stupid. You don't have to worry about CGI or weird looking stop animation or anything like that with the critters, because they're literally just fur balls that roll around, so a guy can just off camera toss a critter and it's moving just fine and it looks great. So I don't think that they really put a lot of, I don't know. The third film it just didn't do it for me as much, but it wasn't as bad as Critters number 4, which is my least favorite of all of the Critters films, even though starring Angela Bassett. Well, I guess not starring, but Angela Bassett is in this film. Why she's not starring is beyond me, but yeah, Angela Bassett, which, Critters 3, Leonardo DiCaprio. In fact, they were so proud of Leo being in 3, it's still, even on the box set right down here, there he is, with Leonardo DiCaprio. So they were pretty proud about that. But no Critters 4, Angela Bassett. Okay, whatever. Alright, so Critters 4 is Critters in Space, which generally is where a franchise goes to die, but the critters are from outer space, so it's cool. Now, this film honestly had the potential to be awesome. Of course, the number one factor being Angela Bassett. Number two, this could have been like Aliens, but a comedy. Everything was set up there. We were on a defunct space station. The critters were coming to life. There were people. There could have been so much with this movie. And it just goes on. I mean, it is draggy. It is boring. It takes forever for the critters to show up. And when the critters show up, you don't even really get many of them. I think there's like a total of 5 in this movie, maybe. And it just drags on and on and on to the point where you're just like, God damn, when is this movie going to end? So yeah, it is honestly, in my opinion, the slowest and weakest of them all, but it had more potential than every single one of them because it had a really cool setting for the critters. It also had some cool stuff. It linked very well with 3 because at the end really matches up well with it and all. I mean, Critters 4. Ooh, so much potential on that one. So much missed opportunity. Why? Alright, well, I have nothing else. That's it, guys. There we are. We have the Critters franchise ranked and ready for you, because I know everyone at home was itching to know exactly how I felt about the Critters movies. So now you do. Sleep easy, everyone. You know the truth. Alright guys, well that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.